بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد إن معه جبل خبز ونهر ماء. Dajjal will have control of the food and water reserves on earth. We have to understand and realize the game is on a global level. We are talking of humanity. Doesn't matter what color, what creed, what religion, what background. The bait is humanity, a plan spanning for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the target humanity till the day of Qiyaamah, Judgment Day. You and I are the bait. And when there is a plan, then the wise have a counter plan, a counter strategy, counter surveillance. Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam has warned us, and that is a great bounty and ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that as an ummah we have been guided in every aspect of our life, 365 days of the year, 52 weeks in detail. We go back and think, why do people worship? Why do people make idols and worship idols? So one is to pray. We need to show that we are praying to something. By default, human nature, we have urge, a need to pray. Secondly is, this human has needs. So either you put your needs in front of the creation or the creator. Since we need somebody to confide in and ask, who's the one that can solve our problems? So coming closer to Qiyamah, we will find that the asbab of fulfilling your needs will be in the hands of man. So if you want a cure, you'll find it in a hospital. If you want food, you'll find it with these corporations who will provide you the seeds that are resilient to the environment, resilient to different conditions and predators, diseases, etc. So man will progress with regards to asbab and means, where he will be actually preparing the field for the coming of Dajjal, because of systems will be up and running and humanity will be enslaved. Likewise, knowledge is a tool, and since knowledge is a powerful tool, Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam came with knowledge. They came with a book, with a scripture. So that knowledge was the guideline for their nation. Google, technology, cell phones, television, etc. are tools of knowledge. They want to infiltrate your system, corrupt your system. And that's why we have today online muftis, who people study things online and they become a mufti overnight. They haven't any Islamic qualification, but going to the wrong platforms and studying the wrong mawad, a person feels, I am knowledgeable, I am capable enough to pass a fatwa and to speak bad about a certain scholar. So they will open the platforms of communication of knowledge, but it will be corrupted. So to dispel and to destroy the original structure of deen, these systems will come in place. So likewise knowledge. So people made idols, they created idols for certain needs. Who will remove my difficulty? One of the needs of man is rizq, your food and your drink. This is what many world wars were fought for. Many nations were wiped out. Many people lost their lives. Dajjal will come to control the reserves of food and water, and he will claim to be God. So this field for his coming has been prepared. So we are seeing something, we are witnessing something unprecedented. Now a wise person starts making effort, he starts changing, he starts doing things differently because he can see through all these false platforms. Like it is said beautifully, don't trust everything you see, even salt looks like sugar. Don't trust everything you see, even salt looks like sugar. So we are seen, but are we seen through it? What we should be seen, we don't see that. What we shouldn't be seen, we don't see that. What we should be seen, we should be seen the planning of batil, we should be seen the prelude to the coming of Dajjal, we should see the signs of Qiyaamah in front of us, we should be seeing Qabr, we should be seeing Hashr, we should be seeing Pul Sirat. These are all things which we should be seen, but literally we are blind of it. We are not seeing the power of the Quran, we are not seeing the power of Salah, we are not seeing the power of Dua. We are seeing the power of money, we are seeing the power of governments, we are seeing the power of weapons. So we are blinded. So who will see through all of this here? We spending time, we using technology, we seen the power of technology and we believe in it. But as for deen, we are blind. We see the faults of others, we don't see our own faults. So again, a form of blindness. Speaking about faults, there was a man who went to a monastery and he wanted to reform himself and dedicate his life to the service. So he arrived at the monastery and they enrolled him, and they said after every 5 years you can utter 2 words. So 5 years passed. He was approached by the senior and asked him, what are your words, what do you have to say? So the monk replied, bed hard. So the senior promised to look into it, to look into the problem. 5 years later now, again he was brought before the senior. Anything you have to say? What was his 2 words? Food cold. So the senior replied, don't worry, we'll look into the matter. Another 5 years, brought to the senior. What are your words? I quote. The senior said, I'm hardly surprised you're quoting. All you have done over the last 15 years is complain. All you have done the last 15 years is complain. So we need to see through all these systems, otherwise our life will be wasted, and before we know it, it's all over. Hazrat Mawlana rahmatullahi used to say that a person spends his time in pursuing futile activities, the consequence of which is he will never be inclined towards necessary, what's important. So when you pursue the unnecessary, you will start leaving out the necessary. So people got time for television, got time for movies, got time for PlayStation, got time for gaming, got time for social media, Facebook, Instagram, got time for their profiles, got time for everything else, the unnecessary. We can spend hours watching sport, watching grown-up males who have mastered the skill of kicking a piece of leather, hitting a ball in a certain spot motivates billions. The fact that a adult male can just put a ball in a certain position, whether it's in football with his legs, whether it's in tennis with his hands, or golf, or whichever other sport, the world revolves around these balls. Imagine. So it's around and we're going around in circle. So we have to see through this. And that's why this mudhakara, this detailed explanation is being given for us to see through all of this here, to see through all this plotting. Now, if we go back and we look, they are creating a food crisis. So politicians, corporates have been made press releases, food shortages, food supply crisis. And we've been hearing it over several years, and this constant insistence of the food shortage, which never happened. And the global population, and how are we going to feed humanity? So 2012, scientists were predicting a climate change, lack of clean water, create food shortages, and the world will become vegetarian by 2050. Then 2019, UN experts warning climate change is threatening the world's food supply. UK also warned that they would expect food shortages post-Brexit chaos. March 2020, supermarkets warning governments have to take steps. There's the coronavirus outbreak. We're going to be short of food. April 2020, pandemic. Officials are saying global food crisis. They're saying 3 months later, the worst food crisis for the last 50 years. Then summer 2021, British press predicts the world's worst food shortages since World War II. There'll be rolling power cuts and blaming it on truck drivers, blaming it on COVID, blaming it on Brexit. September 2021, UK people were told gas price spikes, shortage of frozen food. Gas crisis 2022, January, Australia, supermarket shelves are empty. Omicron variant is crippling the supply chain. And in the US, empty shelves, they're saying it's a bad winter weather. Spring 2022, food crisis still on its way. And the war of Ukraine and China's zero COVID policies and the bird flu outbreak. Hearing all of this here, a person will think that a food crisis is looming, it's at the doorstep. But it seems like it never existed. It wasn't going to happen. It was just a psychological war engineered, designed to spread panic. And suppliers had an excuse to jack up their prices, to put up prices to capitalize on this propaganda, the fake scarcity created by the press. But the question is, the boy cried wolf, when will the wolf appear? So in March, in Brussels, Joe Biden, regarding these food shortages, said, yes, we did talk about shortages and they are going to be real. So question is, this hunger emergency, these growing shortages of food and fuel, when will it materialize? So we look at the war that in Ukraine, Western sanctions. So this special operation has driven up oil, gas, wheat prices, disruption on the ground, the sanctions which the West has put on Russia. Remember, Russia is the largest exporter of wheat and other grains in the world. And it's not only used for food, but also for feed, animal feed as well. So the Western nations have boycotted Russian wheat and all other products, which has driven up prices and other food varieties as well. Likewise, there's a rationing of sunflower oil, which, by the way, Ukraine is a major exporter, and this will go to all other products, from your chickens to your pasta, your processed food. And if we look at it, there could have been a way of neutrality, but we discussed in detail the agenda of this conflict and the Great Reset agenda. Then secondly, the prices of oil. So due to the shortage of oil, prices have gone up. That's implicating transport, logistics, agriculture, and the cost of living. So Russia is the largest exporter of oil and gas in the world. So this has caused a serious tsunami globally. La ilaha illallah. And because of the demand, the Russian ruble bounced back. Likewise, Saudi Arabia has not flooded the market like they did previously. They realized this was an opportunity to maximize. So bird flu number 3, that the outbreak, this bird flu, it seems to be identical like COVID, and birds are being tested for the virus using PCR tests. Now we discussed that in detail, of the PCR machine and what was behind it and why it was invented. But they are being culled if they are positive, and they are labeled as bird flu deaths. Means they haven't died, they fakely, if I can put it, they purposely showed them to be positive and then culled them. So at least 27 million poultry birds have been destroyed in the US alone, which is the world's largest exporter of chicken and eggs. Likewise, France, Canada, UK have also culled millions of birds, and that has caused the price of chickens, eggs to skyrocket in certain countries up to 50, 60, 70%. Likewise, they move into other sectors as well. They warn that pigs can pass superbugs to human. So they move into different food species to create a food crisis. Then an interesting point, number 4, is that the UK and US have been paying farmers to stop farming. So the Biden administration, they started pushing farmers to add agricultural land to the Conservation Reserve Program. This is a federal funded program where it's alleged, they say they're aiming to preserve the environment, and they pay the farmers not to farm. Can you imagine a policy implemented when they are impending food shortages? So you're paying farmers to grow less. If we just take one sector which has been impacted, and it's the rice industry, that would leave 35,000 acres of rice fields, which is around 6% of the yearly crop, now to be empty. It won't be used. Likewise, in the UK as well, they got a similar program, and the British government has announced they're paying lump sums up to £100,000 to any farmer who wants to retire from farming. So the geopolitical unrest which has just impacted our food supply, this is a very strange policy to start implementing. What a time in the world if ever they had to implement these policies. And number 5, fertilizer shortages. So Russia, Belarus are two of the biggest exporters of fertilizer, and fertilizer related products in the world, that's around $10 billion worth of trade. So again, China, the third biggest exporter of fertilizer in the world, they've created a self-imposed ban to protect their food reserves in the country. Then suddenly, the American Union Pacific Railway, they placed a limit on the number of fertilizer deliveries. Yeah, you're supposed to increase deliveries. And they said that they will have to cut the train usage by 20%. So CF Industry, if released a statement saying that they are restricting movement, and this is causing a jeopardy to the harvest. How much harvest of farmers will be wasted? Then conveniently there are fires at food processing plants. So there's rational, strange, erratic fires at food processing plants all over the US. Do a study, Google it, find out, do research. 16 major fires have broken out on food processing plants across the US. That's in 2021. Then a meat processing plant in Nebraska burned down. That was 5% of the country's beef supply. March this year, Nestle frozen food plant in Arkansas, a potato processing site, Maine, was leveled by a huge fire. And examples and the list go on and on. A potato processing plant in Idaho, General Mills plant in Georgia. And we can see it is not coincidence, but it is all planned. So very important that as people of Iman, we've got our alternate systems in place, alternate water supply, alternate food supply, and alternate avenues, amal that will draw the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq wa making amal, wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.